One of the other most distracting things that I see that stops people making progress, that limits productivity and effectiveness for leaders and people in general, is the to-do list. The to-do list I now call the failure list. Think about it. If you work with a to-do list like a list of things that just keeps growing all of the time, how often do you get to the bottom of that list? It can become a huge source of stress and frustration. It's like we get to the end of the day, I haven't achieved any of those things on that list, and now I feel like a failure. I'm reinforcing the idea that I'm failing all of the time to get to the most important priorities. So it can become this source of distraction, frustration and stress, and it just keeps moving to other periods in the future and growing as it does. So the to-do list is a failure list. Rule number 3 on my productivity and effectiveness rules, the productivity infrastructure that I'm covering in these videos, is top 3 approach. Take a top 3 approach instead of your to-do list. So the way the top 3 approach works is at the start of the day, you look at your plan and you look for the top 3 tasks or projects that you want to move forward in that day. The 3 most important things that are priorities to you that you really want to move forward in that day. That's called the top 3 approach. Now, if you're particularly busy, then maybe you pick the top 1 approach or the top 2 approach, but you pick 1 or 2 or 3 things in the top 3 approach rather than having this to-do list that is boundless. You have 3 things and you put them into blocks of time in your plan for that day. Now it sounds simple and common sense, and it is, but common sense isn't generally common practice now in most people's lives. So ask yourself, are you using a to-do list that is basically a constant failure list? Or are you using a top 3 approach? One quick way to get your top 3 priorities is to take your to-do list and pick the top 3 things on it, write there on a separate piece of paper. That becomes your top 3 approach. You now start to move those projects forward and you bound them in time. A to-do list is not bound in time, it's just a list of things. The top 3 approach is bound in time, in blocks of time, and we measure it and we see if we're moving it forward. So if the top 3 approach would serve your productivity and your effectiveness, and you want some support in remembering about that and reminding yourself, then get to the website, get yourself a Purposeful Life Planner, which is what I use, with all of the 12 rules of productivity I'm going to cover to keep my productivity and effectiveness at a high level in the most important projects. So I hope this small video serves you, and I'll see you again in the future. Take care.